I was up pretty early here and looking over some things and realizing how much at war we really are again. So the powers that be have struck at us again. So we just got back from Williams, and a lot of you that watched that video, I took a screenshot of it, and it was 18 views when we went to sleep. And the very thing that we shared and talked with you about is what happened again. So I got up the next morning and it was down to 30 views again. So numbers, boy, they don't like to see it climb when words of truth go. And all I shared was my testimony. Well, I was looking at a little something this morning and I'd like to share it with you. Watch this.
Did you know that there were 2 burial clothes in the tomb of Jesus? The Shroud of Turin is well known, but few people are aware of the Sudarium of Oviedo. The Sudarium of Oviedo is a cloth that covered the face of Jesus after he was crucified. It is now kept in Oviedo, which is in northwest Spain. In the Gospel of John, chapter 20, John distinguishes between the shroud and the Sudarium that had been on Jesus' head. When John and Peter came to the tomb, they discovered the shroud unwrapped and in the same position. The Sudarium was folded up in a place by itself. They saw them and believed. The mysterious Sudarium is also mentioned in Acts chapter 19 when Paul used it for healing and exorcism. On the Sudarium, there is no image imprint like on the Shroud of Turin. It's a small piece of fabric with blood and water stains. So, why would anyone want to keep a bloody cloth for 2000 years? Definitely the importance is whose blood is on the Sudarium. Both tradition and scientific research point out that it was used to cover the face of Jesus following his crucifixion. In fact, the Sudarium of Oviedo has been called Cloth of the Lord for ages. The Sudarium provides new evidence about what happened to Jesus after being crucified. Moreover, the Sudarium and the shroud share many similarities, suggesting that they were used at the same time and on the same body. Let's dive in. First of all, the research of Raymond N. Rogers has led him to some interesting conclusions about the fiber structures in both clothes and how they are related in time and location. Second of all, the clothes have 120 points that match exactly. This means that the clothes were put on the same body. They had the same facial features, including the nose and nostrils, the eyebrows, the size of the mouth and chin, and even the beard shape and hairstyle. Both have AB blood type from a male with elevated bilirubin levels. The liver produces this enzyme when someone is cruelly tortured. That's why the blood stays red forever and doesn't become brown. The injuries are the same. The blood marks match. In both clothes, the man had a crown of thorns. The length of the nose is 8 centimeters or a little over 3 inches long. Moreover, the nose is swollen and displaced. There is evidence from the Gospels that Jesus fell during the journey to Golgotha. He probably would have hit his face and gotten injured when he fell while his arms were tied to the crossbeam. This can be a possible explanation for finding extra dust on the nose on both clothes. This dust came from a rare limestone with a very low strontium level. This type of limestone matches the limestone from the Calvary in Jerusalem. Paul and some both the shroud and the Sudarium link them to Jerusalem. The plants that produced them were only growing near Jerusalem and could date back to the time of Jesus. The shroud and the Sudarium show that the person suffered terrible torture. It also indicates the signs of pulmonary edema. It shows that he was crucified. After he died, his head was inclined 20 degrees to the right and 70 degrees down, and this is how Jesus is usually shown in art. According to the Bible and scientific research, Jesus died at 3 p.m. and an hour later, the Sudarium was put on his head while he was still on the cross. When his body was taken down from the cross, the body was placed face downward. The body was left like this for 1 hour, and after 1 hour, the body was carried to the tomb while the Sudarium was on Jesus' face. Someone's hand was trying to stop the post-mortem bleeding from the nose and mouth, and actual finger marks are visible. According to Jewish law, it was forbidden to move a dead body without covering it first. And if the person's face was damaged in any manner, it should be covered with a cloth so that people do not have to see it. Now we know that they used the Sudarium of Oviedo for this purpose. A 5th century manuscript paraphrased the Gospel of John, and the author Nonos of Panopolis added the detail that the Sudarium was tied at the top of the head. Scientists came to the same conclusion. The blood and aloe stains match perfectly on both clothes. John's Gospel mentions the presence of aloes and myrrh directly. Maybe you asked, why there is so much post-mortem blood on both clothes? Did they not wash the body of Jesus? And the answer is no, they didn't. First of all, the Sabbath was very close, and they believed that the blood had the person's soul in it. The blood-stained clothes and garments were required to be buried with the body, but the Sudarium was taken off before the shroud was put on his body. That's why there is an image imprint on the shroud, but not on the Sudarium, because the Sudarium was not on Jesus' face in the moment of resurrection. We know now that the Sudarium and the shroud covered the same body. The details we learn from the Sudarium and the Shroud of Turin fit only one man and only one story in all of history. I'm sure who this person is.